and beseech him to learn, and may this be a life-changing experience for us. Jazakallah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ayyuhan nabi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So inshallah, I'm going to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes inshallah just going through or bringing us up to speed or with the Tareeqah Muhammadiyah amal. So some of us or some of you have gone through this before, depending on which retreat you intended, and some may not have, so this might be new to you. But before I go straight into the methodology itself, I think it's always good when we're talking about the elect of the elect, the best of the best, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we bring ourselves to a focus and understand actually why is it a big thing. You know, what do we know about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why is he so important to us? And do we know the rights of the Prophet, the rights that he has upon us? And I know Dr. Shah has gone through this before, but inshallah, as a recap, I think it's appropriate to go through that again, inshallah. But let me put it out to you first. I mean, what are how many major rights that we've summarized before that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has upon us? Anyone, just raise your hands. Gee. Yes, there's 5. Can anyone name one of those 5? Follow the commands of the Prophet ﷺ. He's correct. It is. But just focusing on that for a moment. I mean, we're here in this blessed majlis following what we're trying to do is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the sunnah of the Mi'raj. And as a ummah, as a nation, as a people, we claim to love the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And so that then asks the question, how much do we know of him? How connected are we to him? And if we love someone, are we fulfilling their rights? And as the brother mentioned, he's absolutely correct. There are 5 major rights of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The first one is to have complete and perfect belief in the Prophet. Complete and perfect belief. It's this complete and perfect belief that allows the companions to act as they did. Now, it's been mentioned before that when the announcement was made that gold was haram for men, what did the companions do? They took it off and they threw it away. That was the reaction of the companions. Now, I know I've mentioned it before, but it's a point to make, is that to have complete and perfect belief in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that you believe everything he says to be truth. That when he likes something, you love it. When he dislikes something, it's abhorrent to you. So when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam has just said that this is haram, the men took the gold and they threw it. They didn't say, actually it's halal for my wife or my sister, I'll go home and I'll keep it. No. They instantly, they heard and they obeyed. That was their reality. That was their reaction to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another major right of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to love the Prophet more than your spouse, children, parents, everyone and everything. Why do you think that's so important? We know the famous hadith of Umar radiallahu anh. This is where the statement comes from. When he said to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Ya Rasul, O Prophet, I'm happy, I can tell you that I can love you more than my children, I can love you more than my wife, I can love you more than my parents, but I can't say that I love you more than myself. Firstly, there's a huge insight into the blessed Umar radiallahu anhu himself, because he was Al-Faruq, he was the person that spoke the truth, and it just demonstrates then that the love that we have for ourselves is immense. But the Prophet ﷺ's response was what? That your iman is therefore not perfect. Simple as. It's not perfect. And then, this is how they had complete belief in this person, this individual. That he goes, now I love you more than anything. Now the reason, or the Mashaykh tell us, the reason this is so important, that if you want to follow someone, or if you want to claim to follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why is it important that his love outranks every other love? It's important because that in your life, you will come across, you will live your life as you do. You know, you're Muslims, alhamdulillah, you live your life as much as you can, you try to adhere to the sunnah and so forth. But a decision will come in your life where something else that you love will clash with the love of the Prophet ﷺ. So for example, if you love wealth, the option to do halal or haram wealth, the option if you're really into football, to follow a footballer's hairstyle, follow the hairstyle of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Wherever the love is greatest, that's where you're going to incline to. That's what's going to overtake. That's what's going to dominate. So therefore, just by logic, the love of the Prophet ﷺ has to be above everything else. That's what's going to enable you to follow him. That's why they go, it's so important to love the Prophet ﷺ more than anything else. It's more important to love the Prophet ﷺ than your wife, because if your wife is the one that says to you tomorrow, I don't like that beard, or I don't like something that you're doing that is contrary to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which love dominates. That which dominates will prevail. So therefore the love of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has to be that which dominates everything. So that was the second right that the Prophet ﷺ has upon us. And the third one is to honour, respect, sanctify, revere the Holy Prophet ﷺ and whatever is related to him, i.e. his deen, his sunnah and his way of life. Everything is to revere him, to have respect for him, to have absolute honour for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his way of life. And then the next one is to follow the religion, the sharia, the sunnah of the Prophet of mercy. In other words, to follow him, his way of life like yourself. And the final one is to invite others to the religion, to the sharia, to the sunnah and to the ways of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to convey this to others. Now those are the rights of I've briefly gone through the 5 rights of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now it's quite interesting. I was so let's take the I was teaching yesterday at a secondary school, and it was an Islamic school, and we had the choice to go through some of these blessed teachings the Mashayikhs give us, just to do a module with them. And I asked them what they aspire to be, and the majority said landlords, property developers, stockbrokers. One said he wants to be a coder, design apps perhaps, or so forth. But what was really interesting, we were talking to them about the tongue, you know, what's to stop bad habits of the tongue. And I said, what's a good thing that you could do with your tongue? Something that was, if you were to take away bad habits and you were to implement good habits, like something sunnah with your tongue. And these children, they were about 50. I mean, you know, what made me laugh is that if I was asked, I'm not going to, but if I was asked this room full of people, what do you want to do with your lives? I suspect the answer might be Simba, property developer, want to make lots of money. You know, that's them at 15, and this is us at 30. You know, but I asked them what's good that you could do with your tongue, and these children said recite Quran. So, mashallah. I said something practical. Another one said recite Nasheed. I said mashallah, we're all awliya here. And but I said to them, and this is an Islamic school, I said, because we were talking about practical skills, practically implementing Islam and Sunnah in your life. That's the point here. And then we went through this for ages. I mean, it was nasheeds. Someone said, I'll recite Bukhari to you. I'll do this. You know, all of these are things. I said, what about this, the basic concept of just going through that tongue process of just saying thank you to your mum when she cooks you dinner? You know, how do you just adopt just that softness, that sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in the dealings that you have with people? Now, and that's an Islamic school. Divorced of practical implementation of Islam in what they're doing. These people are going out into the world and they think Islam is genuinely, I'm hearing it from these students themselves, they believe Islam is about reciting Quran with absolute tajweed. That was what they were telling me. They believe it is reciting nasheeds. Not a single one of them said to me that Islam is about the way you conduct yourselves, how you speak to someone. And these are ones that are going to an Islamic school. Where does that leave everyone else? So that's why it's important for us to, inshallah, to connect and to have that love for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to know, you know, why we follow his Sharia. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it is better for you to hold a hot rod than it is to touch a non-mahram. It is better for you to touch or hold a hot rod than it is to touch a non-mahram. Now, when we start thinking more adhering to the Sunnah, then we're here and we're having experiential experiences and miracles and the like. And there's a story that I would like to impart. And this is a first-hand story. When I say first-hand, it means that I didn't hear it from someone else, heard it from someone else. It's something that I heard with these very ears that are attached to my head. There was a brother that I know who was similar to yourselves. He was doing this purification course. So all of you have been on the retreat. You will know about, the Sheikh mentioned it today, the feet, the hands, the stomach. And he'd been going through this process, and he'd been working he worked kind of like a city type job. He met people, colleagues and so forth. And it was his last day, and he was doing a khutbah at the company. I'm listening to this with my own ears. And he goes that 5 years he spent working at this company, 5-6 years, never missed a salah during, and he had meetings and so forth. But the really interesting thing, he goes that in his time, from what he could record, he had not shaken hands with a non-mahram. Apart from once, he said. He goes that he used to always make the effort not to shake hands. But he goes, one day he was at a meeting. And the meeting came by chance, because he goes, he was sometimes called in advance if he knew there was going to be a female, say, look, don't take offence, I'm not going to shake your hand, etc. Always thinking about how do I get out of this. Never did he just accept it as a reality. And he goes, he turned up to this meeting, and it was unexpected. Everyone sat there. All of a sudden, he goes, a woman got up and put her hand right in his face. And he goes across the table, and there was lots of people there. And he goes, just instinctively, he shook her hand. And he goes that the moment he shook her hand, he just felt dejected for that entire meeting. And he was the only Muslim, everyone else around him was non-Muslim. And he's telling us this story. He goes that the meeting was away from the office, had to get the train back to the office. And he was sitting there with his colleagues, and they're all talking around him. And he's just, all he said, he's thinking is like, what have I done? Doing astaghfar and so forth. And then randomly, one of the colleagues goes, oh, do you know that woman at the meeting? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh, you know she's not a woman, she's a man. He goes that when he heard that, he goes, everyone was like shocked. He goes like, what do you mean? They go, oh no, she was born a man, she chose to have a sex change. And he goes that he walked straight back to his office and he went straight to the prayer and did Salatul Shukr. That was his reaction. That he goes that what came to his mind was that if you have sincere intention, Allah will change, forget the cosmos. Allah will change genders. So, kind of thing. That was the reality. But that's how sincere he was on that. You know, these 5 amars that you get given. Everyone here has been given the 5 amars, yes? You've been given the dhikr, the muraqabah, and then you've given the organ sheet. Most of you would have started with a tongue sheet. Yeah, and you work through those, but you know, that's the reality of what the impact of these sheets. That's the impact of the prophetic way. Yeah. They will say that when the companions looked upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, that those who saw him would fall in love with him instantly. That's the Shama'il. We read it before. They got that when they looked upon his face, they would find it would be more radiant than what? the moon. That when they came up on him, a companion radiallahu anhu said that, I looked at the Prophet ﷺ and I looked at the moon. I looked at the Prophet ﷺ, I looked at the moon, and he goes, by Allah, the moon, his face was more radiant than the moon. That's the reaction, that people that came up on him would fall in love with him. They say of Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, they say of his father Mughira, he didn't die, he was a non-believer. But they get that when he first heard the Prophet ﷺ recite Quran, so he was someone that was articulate, he knew Arabic, and when he heard the Prophet ﷺ recite Quran, they go that he was shocked. He goes, this is not from here. This person is the truth. And they go that he just was so shocked, he just sat down. And they go that Abu Jahil saw this from a while ago, and he was like, I can't have this. I can't have Mughira become a Muslim. So, and now he went to Mughira and he sat next to him, and he goes, what are you doing? People are looking at you. Are you telling me you're going to believe in this? You're going to believe in this person? And then they got that he was in such a daze, and he kind of shook himself out of it, and he still chose not to believe, even though having that impact. And hence there's a Quran ayah that is revealed just for him, a special place in Jahannam just for him, because having known that the person before him is truth, he still chose to disbelieve. And not only that, the Quran testifies to the fact that Allah blessed him. I think he had like 10 sons, and he had more lands than others. While others, they would do a harvest every 1 year, he would get 2 harvests in 1 year. That's the blessings that he had. And in spite of that, knowing what he saw, feeling the impact of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he chose to disbelieve, and therefore he is specifically told that he has a specific space in hellfire just for him. And he's the father of Ali bin Walid radiallahu anhu. But that was the impact the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have upon people. They go that of his eyebrows, that they would arch and come together, but they wouldn't meet in the middle. His eyes were thick, his eyelashes, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All these hadith are all narrated by the young companions, because the older companions, they couldn't hold the gaze to look upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas young children, when they see something beautiful, what do? They just stare. Bismillah. So, from our perspective, inshallah, I'll spend the next few minutes, inshallah, going through the amals, is just coming to the reason I mention all of this is to have something happen in the heart. Because we're going to do Tareeqah Muhammadiyah, inshallah, and we're going to perhaps, as the teachers and stars know best, perhaps join it with one of the Drood majlises. But to see someone, to want someone, there has to be a yearning. You have to feel something. When you hear about what your parents did for you. Sometimes we become heedless. For example, we all have parents, whether they're with us or they're departed, we've all come from someone. And they go that sometimes we become heedless to what they've done, but then sometimes we remind each other, our parents sometimes have to remind us that they spent 15 hours working in factories or whatever they did just to put food on the table. And at that time, what do we feel? Then we feel something, don't we? But equally, we have to remember what the Prophet ﷺ did for us, is doing for us, and will do for us. That's a really, really important thing to help nurture that love and that want for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And on this particular point, I will conclude, inshallah. And I'm sure I mentioned it before, but it's the thing that struck me is what the Mashaykh's interpretation, which was that we all hear the story of Taif. Everyone here heard the story of Taif? I say story, it's the reality of Taif, of what happened. It happened in the year of sorrow. So it was a year of sorrow when the Prophet ﷺ had lost who? Khadija radiallahu anha, the first believer in Islam, the first Muslim, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, one of his arch protectors. He lost Khadija radiallahu anha, and he also lost his uncle, Abu Talib. 2 of his foremost allies had passed away, people that he had a dear love for. So he went to Taif, the neighbouring town, after losing these 2 people. The deen or the message didn't stop for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He still wanted to make sure that this goodness was going to be passed on. And he went to Taif and he spent 30 days, 1 entire month, calling people to Islam. How long? 1 month. Who here has spent half an hour, an hour in the streets of Bolton calling someone to this to the deen? How difficult is it when someone refuses to take a leaflet or listen to any form of dawah? It's painful sometimes when you try to talk to someone and they brush it off. The Prophet ﷺ spent 30 days in Taif doing dawah, and the amount of people that turned to Islam was big fat 0. But then it stopped the Prophet ﷺ doing what he did. And then on his way back, as he's leaving Taif, the dregs of society, they all started doing what? We all know what happened. They started stoning the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They started cursing the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So much so, this is the reality, the pain, and so much so that Prophet ﷺ had to stop and take shelter. That his sandals swelled with blood. And they go that Jibreel alayhi salam himself came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to the Prophet ﷺ, when he is in that state, i.e. at his most vulnerable, and Jibreel alayhi salam comes to him and says to him when he's in that state, he says, the heavens are raging with the anger of Allah. Say the word, Allah will wipe these people off the earth as He has wiped generations before. This is not new to Allah. Allah's done it to the type of Nuh alayhi salam. He did it to the people of Lut alayhi salam. Allah can do it again. But look at the adab that Allah has for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They ask his permission. Does Allah need to ask anyone's permission? No. And what's the reaction of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He raises his hand. He goes, I rather that from them come a people that believe in Allah, that say La ilaha illallah. But the most painful piece, that the point that really comes when the mashayikh tell us that the stones of Taif don't hurt as much than when an ummati of the Prophet Muhammad commits a sin. That when we look upon a non-mahram, when we swear, when we do these things, that hurts the Prophet Muhammad more than the stones of Taif. That is the Prophet Muhammad. That is the being with which we want to connect ourselves. That being that if it wasn't for that supplication, if it wasn't for the fact that he stopped all of us being wiped, or our forefathers being wiped from the face of the earth, that we wouldn't be able to sit 1400 years now in this Zavia with our blessed Mashayikh to learn how to get closer to him. So inshallah, I mean, for those of you who have done this, inshallah, this will be a recap. For those who it's the first time, then inshallah, just the process is the same. So what will happen is that perhaps one of the ustads will go through the lataif process. So you know the methodology of the lataif. You go to the methodology and you would transfer, and then when on transferring, and this is just something to help with your visuals, but I'll go through this together. You would connect with the teacher, and you would focus on and find yourself in this sitting. Can everyone see the slides from where they are? Yeah. If you can't, just sit in the place that you can, inshallah, because the visuals are quite important. So you find that you will be sitting outside the courtyard of the MASJID al-NABAWI, and the teacher, Shaykh Ahmad Dabag, is sitting beside you. So you've done your advice, you've done transfer, and this is where you should find yourself. This is where you should direct yourself. Then with your teacher, see yourself walking towards the door of Masjid al-Nabi, Bab al-Salam, where you would go to give salam to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then you find yourself, and this picture should all be familiar to everyone here, standing in front of the ROZA Sharif, and then you're sending salam upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, we were doing this with the collective dhikr as well, so inshallah that should help as well. Then find, or imagine the door of the Roza Mubarak, it begins to open, and you enter it with your guide, with your teacher, with Shaykh Ahmad Dabag. Now let me explain this to you. This is, do you know where the green dome is in the Masjid al-Nabi? Yes? So the grave or the resting place of the Prophet Muhammad is directly beneath that green dome. Yeah? So what this is showing you a bird's eye view of what you can see. So if those Jali Mubarak is removed, you've got this the green thing around, and then you've got this cube piece, and then that's where you go, and under that is where the grave of the Prophet Muhammad is. So inshallah, it'll make more sense now. So you've gone through the door of the ROZA Mubarak with the teacher. Then you come through the Golden Gate, and you will see a white dome with the covering of the HUZARAAT. And then you walk towards this, you walk through this, and then you come to the white dome itself. And then when you come through to that with your teacher, you'll find that as you go into that, there's effectively a trap door, or there's some stairs, spiral staircase that will now begin to take you to what? To the grave itself. And when you reach at the bottom, and then you should find yourself, or you should bring the thought of the grave of the Prophet Muhammad is there, and imagine that grave starts to illuminate. And as it's illuminating, you're sending salam and salutations upon the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as you do so, then you should see the light, or bring the thought of the light radiating out of that grave, and feel it, see it striking you. And as it does so, with this, the vision of the Prophet Muhammad should appear. Now, with some of you, it may just be the light initially, but you focus on the light, and then, inshallah, certain features should begin to appear. But that's the process through which this does. Now I'll summarize it for you again. So what are you going to do first? So we'll give you an opportunity, I think, after this sitting session to do fresh wudu, and everyone to get ready, settle down. So you'll do what first? Do you go to the purification of the advice? Now we may do that collectively, or we'll let you know either way. You transfer, and then you bring yourself to thought with the teacher, and you're sitting where? Outside the courtyard of Masjid al-Nabawi. So look at the image, have that incorporated into your mind. Then with your teacher, begin walking towards the door, Bab al-Salam, to give salams and salutations to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then find yourself in front of the ROZA Sharif, find yourself sending salam upon the Prophet, and all the while remember that it's your teacher that's taking you to the feet of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, if you find you're getting distracted, you should bring, if you find you're getting lost, you should bring the thought of the teacher. The more you focus on them, the stronger the process is. And then in your mind you'll see, or you should see, the doors of the ROZA Mubarak open, and you enter this with your teacher. And then as you enter the Golden Gate, you'll see the white dome, and you see the covering of the blessed HUZARAAT. You walk through that right up to the white dome, and then in that is a trap door, and you walk down the steps. It's a spiral staircase up to and until you come to the grave of the Prophet Muhammad itself. You should see light radiating on that grave, and then you imagine that light's hitting you, it's striking you. You continue to give salam, you continue to say salam, and then from the grave you should see inshallah a vision begin to appear, and by absolute reliance and by the fadl of Allah, inshallah, we should get the ziyarah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When this is happening, if you find that again you're getting distracted, or more clarity, the more you focus on the teacher, the more things become clearer as well. Yeah. Any questions? Anything that I said that you don't understand? For people, for brothers here, for how many people is this the first time they've seen this presentation? Okay, so only the ones that came to the recent retreat. So most of you have seen it before. MashaAllah.
I have a question. I know it's supposed to be outside and but what if, like, sometimes, like, when myself is sometimes visioning, sometimes what happens is the vision for some reason to transfer to when Muslim first came. They were just like strong and sometimes they have.
Oh, okay, sure. Have you done this one before? Okay, so inshallah. So for this one, try to go with this process, inshallah. And if you're finding it difficult, then inshallah we can speak afterwards as well. But for this one, inshallah, try to use this methodology. But you're absolutely right. When you're ordinarily transferring, sometimes you can take your own journey, which happens and you follow that journey. Inshallah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I think the plan now, I'm looking at one of the ustads now, is for them, whoever needs to do a fresh wudu, do a fresh wudu, and then everyone come back here, don't go anywhere, and again just in silence, and we're going to inshallah begin. Do you, brother?
Is it better to have wudu?
Yeah, we've got an opportunity, so if you can, you should do a fresh wudu, inshallah. If you don't have wudu, that is.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Alhamdulillah, we've got 10 minutes, so if you want to stretch your legs or what have you, and this, that, and the other, or do you refresh. The other thing is, we're going to be having a Durood al-Salam majlis, so to bring the chairs around this side as well, so we'll be facing the screen here, inshallah, of the Prophet sallallahu